Hello, welcome to Black and Forth. It's Nori. I am your host. Black and Forth is being brought to you by Digital PR and The Wave USA. We come together and we talk about the culture, how we can uplift the culture, how can we support each other, and just have a really good, candid conversation. Today, my special guest is Eugene Brown, and he is a social media digital strategist. I mean, he's an influencer, and he also does very, very amazing work with NAACP, but he himself, Gene is one of the dopest human beings I have encountered, and I'm very happy to know him. So today we're talking about mastering your digital influence. Gene, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. That intro was very, very dope. I'm gonna take that and record it and put it somewhere.
Your eyebrows said it all.
I was like, oh wow, I'm pretty cool. Nori says I'm cool and I'm good money.
Okay, that's what I was going for. That's what I was going for. For those that are not familiar with you, you kind of like chill in the background a little bit. But when you out there, you're out there, and it is a beautiful thing to see. So tell us a little bit about your background and how did you get started with digital social media?
Um, so from Brooklyn, New York, moved to the DMV area. I would say in like '06. So I was like 19. Uh, couldn't really figure shit out. You know what I mean? Like I was here and I was just working. God put some people in my life to kind of navigate me on the right path. End up going to college. Shouts out to Livingstone College in North Carolina. My freshman year there, I get an internship working for the not the Congressional Black Caucus, the Committee on Homeland Security, which is ran by Congressman Benny Thompson. And there, I meet someone who is now like a big sister to me. Not even like a big sister. She swears that she's like my mother, but a big sister by the name of Angela Rye, right? And so she was, I want to say she was general counsel there or something. I can't remember her whole title, but she kind of just took me under the wing there. So all through college, I did congressional internships, and then she had a pivot in her life to where she started, doing TV and getting, more and more known and famous, for lack of a better word. And so when I graduated from college, she ends up starting a firm.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, "Yo, there's nobody here but me." So she brought me in on the firm. But so it ended up being this weird duality because it's like I'm Gene Brown, the political consultant and working on this firm, but the principle of this firm is like growing in popularity. And so, I mean, to make a long story longer, she gave me the opportunity to run her social,
Mm-hmm.
but she liked how I ran mine. And
Mm-hmm.
at this point, she's on TV twice, maybe three times a week or whatever. And so, she's just bubbling. And fast forward, I did that for maybe like 5 years, like ran Angela's social for 5 years. And so doing that, she's one of those people where she's very in tune to like your growth, right?
Uh-huh.
Whoever's with her, whoever's working with her, she's like, all right, whatever you're doing, let's grow it. And so she was like, yo, you should really think about making social media a service offering for the firm. And so we had clients like eBay and Microsoft and PayPal or whatever. And so she's like, yo, you should make this a service offering for the firm. And so we did. And through that, like I now became somebody who's doing social strategy for all of these major companies and someone who's, a celebrity. And then it built from there. And so I just kind of honed my craft and took the creative that I always had and, put it to
Wow.
digital strategy. That
So
sounds
did
so long.
So
Sorry.
did you know you always had the eye and the vision to really capture and engage people for social media, or was it something you just kind of stumbled across? Because being in the political space is one thing, and a
Mhm.
consultant and working in that space, but then realizing that you can transfer those skills to social media and really make it pop and come alive and relatable to people. Like, what was the moment that you was like, "Oh yeah, I'm nice with this."
So it's funny because there really was like a moment like that where I was like, oh, people see me doing this. They may not understand what I'm doing, but they see that I'm doing this thing. And so to answer the first question, no, I didn't always know that I wanted to operate in the social media space, but I've always been a content creator. I've
Mhm.
always been somebody that understands that a lot of people speak and understand subconsciously.
Yep.
And so you may read a book, and if you're a literary person, you may get a whole bunch of stuff out of that book. But I could put that in an hour and 30-minute film and change the world. Now, this is a horrible example, but it makes sense. R. Kelly, right? And you can like bleep it out. But he's in jail right now
Yep.
because of a documentary.
Yep.
Not we knew who he was for 30 years, but a documentary sent him to jail. And like that's the power of content. And so I always knew that I wanted to create. And early on it was music, you know what I mean? Creating music and visual art. And then to get to your other question, eBay. We were doing something for eBay. They have a what's called a fly-in every year, where they take like some of the top people who sell on eBay, so people who make over $1 million
Mhm.
on eBay, and they bring them to Capitol Hill basically to talk to members of Congress for whatever issues that they have.
Mhm.
Typically, it's like trade stuff and being able to ship packages overseas or whatever. And
Mhm.
so it's a 2-day thing, and each consultant group gets a couple of sellers to take around, make sure they're having a good time or whatever. And they created a social media like competition for the 2 days to see, who's going to capture the moment. And everybody in the room was like, oh, guy, well, Gene's got that. And I was like, wow, like, why would y'all say, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't realize that
Yeah.
people were paying attention to what I was doing. And so one of the women who was like one of the people over the political arm of eBay, she was like, yeah, Gene, just keep it going and send me whatever you got. And I was like, oh, I mean, she was kind of pimping me at that moment, but it was her recognizing my ability to do this that kind of put the battery in my back, like, oh, all right, like this is not just a thing I do for fun. This is a thing that I do for money, and I'm an expert in this space.
Mm. So I think your aha moment is a huge aha moment to be with eBay and people pushing you. But I think that's a part of, when you surround yourself with the right people, they are going to elevate you and push you. And so I just love the relationship and friendship that spawned from Angela to going into these corporate settings and being able to really, again, show your growth. So, how did you go about creating your own social media persona? Because there is Gene that's behind the scenes and pushing these brands and pushing other people forward and uplifting people through your content. But then there's like your personal content, which is quite hilarious. Like you have a bit of a comedic aspect to your content, I think, when it comes to your own personal persona. But how do you define the two?
um, so for me, it's like, and you know me personally, like I see the world in content, like everything from the time I wake up to just going about my day to the time that I go to bed, like everything is content for me. So every moment is like, damn, this would be a funny show. You know what I mean? It's my life, but I'd be like, man, I would watch this. Or,
Yeah.
yo, I gotta get into a certain headspace. Let me play this record. And
Mm-hmm.
then that becomes the music video. My day is a music video. And so like that's just how I see the world. So when it comes to my content, it's like I am trying to give you 10% of what's in here. You know what I mean? Like I
Mm-hmm.
can't. And for the people who are listening, I pointed to my head, but trying to give you what's in my mind on a day-to-day basis. And so the thing that's different when it comes to working with companies, organizations, brands, they have an identity
Mm-hmm.
they have to stick to. And so my job is to take whatever it is that they have and figure out either how to restructure it, reformat it, and make it palatable for people, and or how to get whatever they have to the most people possible.
Mm.
And so what I enjoy about being able to do my own social media is I don't have to stick to an identity. I'm just me. You know
Got
what I mean? So if I ever wanted to pivot tomorrow, I could do whatever I want. This is me.
it.
I don't always get that with my clients. It's kind
Hmm.
of sucks sometimes because often there are moments, and especially as we see, what the world is going through right now, there are often moments where you see companies and you're like, somebody needs to pivot. Somebody needs to, you guys are doing this wrong. But
Hmm.
they built up this identity that they can't pivot away from it. And so they're stuck. And so
Mm.
sometimes you get clients who are stuck and, you give them ideas, but they either listen or they don't. So that's the fun part of being me, is just not having a brand. People see people say brand to me. And I'm
Hmm.
just, oh, this is really just Gene. You know
Mm.
what I mean? And then also I think the one thing that happened to me that I guess was funny when I realized, like, yo, I'm a whole person out here. Um, like, I'm Angela's little brother, right? Like, that's how I spent 5, 6 years of my life in all of the great settings that we were in. I was still Angela's little brother.
Hmm.
And so I never forget, we're at Broccoli City, not Broccoli City, we're at Roots Picnic.
Hmm.
So Angela just did a podcast with Rhapsody. We're leaving, and people want to take pictures, so they're doing that, and I'm just like, I get into like bodyguard mode when we're out and about and we don't have security. I'm like, all right, wrap it up, everybody, stand back, let's get out of here. And so everybody's finished taking pictures. You're about to walk off, and somebody's like, "Hey, Groovy Gene, I know you. I want a picture with you too." And so Angela ends up like just laughing because it's like, "Oh yeah, Gene is famous now." And it was just that moment. It was like, "Oh yeah, I'm a whole person. I'm Groovy Gene." And so
Yeah,
that was pretty dope.
Groovy Jean is definitely a pretty amazing persona that people just gravitate to. It's funny because literally people that I don't know if they know you or don't know you, but I've had people to send me, you know how we send each other memes on social media or
Yeah.
send, send a funny video. Literally the other day, I want to say you posted s'mores. You posted s'mores. Somebody was like, "Yo, this is what we need to do." I was like, "I'm about to, I'm about to text Gene and ask him where he get that lighter from." Like,
Pull up, pull up. I got you. I make s'mores for everybody. That's my joint. I'm a big kid for real, for real.
which
S'mores,
which I love because I had no idea that this person 6 degrees of separation, know you, don't know you, just a fan of your profile,
mm.
but your videos are circulating out here and I just loved everything about it. I was like, wow, I know that guy. which is
Yeah,
which is funny.
there have been some moments, man. There have been like I truly, truly, truly say that God is been so good to me. And there are moments that I'll never forget where people knew my work. Um, like I'll never forget. Ange wanted me to meet Puff
Hmm.
because we had did some things, and he had worked with us for Andrew Gillum's
Hmm.
gubernatorial race campaign. Talked on the FaceTime or whatever. It was cool, but we're in LA and she had to do a Revolt thing. She was like, "No, I want you to meet Puff." And we've been talking to her. So anyway, we go in the back. He's there. "Hey, what's going on?" She's like, "This is Gene. This is the guy that," and he taps like one of his boys, like one of the guys who works for him. It's like, "Yo, this is the cat that I was telling you about." And I was floored. I'm like, wait, what? You were telling him about me? You know what I mean? And then there was another moment.
That's
Was
dope.
I don't know if you've seen the movie Malcolm and Marie, but it's
Yes.
produced by Macro, which is
Yes.
run by this guy Charles King,
Yep.
amazing content creator. And we're me and Ange are backstage at Essence, and I had started doing these funny videos for her because I was like, "Yo, politics kind of sucks. How can we make this more palatable?" And I just started cutting up like movie scenes in the middle
Yes.
of her commentary or whatever. And I had a couple of joints go viral. And so again, we're back there, and she introduces me to Charles King, and she was like, "Oh, yeah, this is the guy." And he taps his wife, and I'm just like, man, like just having people, to your point, like again, who don't know me personally or whatever, but know my work is such a blessing.
It is beautiful to see, and I'm really happy for you. Just congratulations on your success thus far. This is only the beginning because technology is growing and expanding. I wanted to ask you, have you ever help to launch a brand's company or personal profile for someone from the grassroots where they really haven't set up their identity and you were able to capture their voice digitally?
So one Ange, like remember I was with Ange before she was,
Ah.
you know, a celebrity or anything like that. And so she gave me the opportunity really early
Mm-hmm.
and
Okay.
was like, yo, make the mistakes on me. You know what I
Word.
mean? She literally said that to me. She was like, yo, you got free range to run. Make the mistakes here.
Mm.
And then, I work with the NAACP. And so I run um, the president and CEO of social media.
Mm-hmm.
And so he had maybe like 700 followers on the gram
Really?
when I got there. Yeah, we sitting at like 20 something thousand now. So
You
I,
did
I,
it.
I would say his Instagram specifically. Twitter, he was buzzing a bit, but Instagram for sure. Like,
Oh, I love it.
yeah,
I love
he was
it.
he was verified 2 weeks into me getting the job, which I now regret. But it just was so exciting for me. He was like, "Oh, okay," and I was like, "Damn it! Why didn't I wait to do this for a big hoorah?" It was terrible.
What are some of the tools, your favorite tools that you use for social media?
Um, so there's an app that I use called Video Leap,
Mhm.
where I can go in my phone and like cut and edit videos really quickly. Um, that I love, and I mean, this might sound like an ad, but yo, the iPhone is dope.
It
You know
is.
what I mean? Like when it comes to creating content, the iPhone is like, yo, I could shoot like one of my goals before, of course, the world shut down. I wanted to shoot a full music video on my phone. And that'll happen. But once the world opens back up and you know
Nah,
things get
I
better.
I, I feel you. Do you are you self-taught when it comes to editing and
Mhm.
the video content that you do? Really?
Yeah, yeah. Never learned from anybody, take a class. But again, I told you, like when I tell you that God has been good to me, like when I was in college, I had a mentor who I told you I wanted to do music, right? And so I
Mhm.
came to the school like, yo, we need a studio and da 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 da. And I had a mentor who was like, let's make it make sense. Like I was
Yeah.
coming in there demanding wild stuff. And he was just like, let's make it make sense. And so he ended up getting a grant for us to build a studio. But it ended up taking on a life of its own and becoming this multimedia um, situation at the school. So we not only got a studio, but we got lighting equipment and DJ equipment and all this kind of stuff. And so I really just spent um, junior and senior year in the studio learning how to cut and edit videos and figuring out how to get what was in my mind onto whatever canvas I was using.
Oh, I love it. So let's talk about this because you mentioned working with the NAACP. You mentioned working with Angela and just various platforms. How have you used social media as an activist tool? Because obviously the NAACP definitely on the streets, boots on the streets, talking to people, and we literally got to see a lot of what was happening through the lens of the NAACP social media accounts, the speeches, the activists, the emotions. It was just very raw. So we have been able to kind of, and it's crazy because we've had video for a long time, but I think the way we are incorporating technology now with the hashtags and the sharing of content, it's just went to a whole other level. When you think about George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and you just think about Tamir Rice, like all of these, Trayvon Martin, all of these names that we know because we had to say their name,
Right.
and we made that huge. So, how are you using social media as an activist tool? And do you feel any pressure?
Um, I don't feel pressure personally. Definitely pressure when you're responsible for the oldest, and I don't know when this will air, but the NAACP just turned 112 a few days ago.
Yeah.
So when you're responsible for the platform of the oldest civil rights organization, it's a lot of pressure, right? And there's pressure from multiple different angles because, there's a 65 and up demographic that they have talked to for a long time consistently. But then there's a 18 to 35 demographic that is the largest demographic for Black people. And
Mm-hmm.
so now we've got to pivot to be able to talk to those folks. And so there's definite pressure there. I think for me, it's just being able to maneuver in a space where I honor people's originality. And it's like I don't have to talk to you like a robot.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of our VPs, who sometimes will tweet or whatever from the account, kind of burst my bubble and opened my eyes when he tweeted from the NAACP account during the insurrection.
Mm-hmm.
And the tweet went viral, and he was like, and it's something along the lines of, and y'all were mad at Kaepernick for taking a knee.
Yes, I
And
saw that. I saw
it,
that.
it went super viral, and he killed it, right? And it was like, man, I can talk through the NAACP like a normal person.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so it relieves some of the pressure um, off of me. But when coming in, it was just like, oh my God, it's the NAACP. I've got to be, in this box. And so definitely understanding that I could just speak because the people who are listening are normal people,
Mm-hmm.
definitely relieved a lot of pressure.
When you think about social media and how it's shifted the culture, especially for Black people,
Mm.
what do you think we're going next with this? Because obviously Black folks really do control
Mm.
what's popping, what's trending, the conversation, what people are talking about, the music, the entertainment, film. Like, we are literally the uh compass for a lot of what's popping in America. Now, there are people that are now starting to recognize that,
Mhm.
but it took a long time. So, how do you think social media is impacting Black culture overall?
Oh my God. Social media is the biggest equalizer.
Mm-hmm.
It's a way in which you can say something and have a million people back what you said, right? Like a hashtag it's a convening space. The
Yes.
hashtag says, this is my topic, this is what I'm talking about. Anybody using this hashtag is in this boat that I'm swimming in. And I think that especially there's no avenue like Black Twitter. Black Twitter is like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. If I
It's
want
the
to know
Loch
what's
Ness
going
monster
on.
that's out the bag now. And so I definitely think that social media will continue to affect the Black community in a positive way and unify. What I hope happens,
Mm-hmm.
um, yes, what I hope happens, and God willing, it will. We can translate this energy into ownership,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
because I think that social media gives people a license to have an opinion
Mm-hmm.
that they don't actually have.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it gets toxic,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's like, man, Oscar's so white, right? And shouts out to my homegirl April, who like started that whole Oscar so white thing. That's dope. Literally push the culture, force the Oscars to, start rearranging some things. But are people going to the Image Awards? Are
Mm-hmm.
people going to the BET Awards? Is there a film award show that's just for Black? Like, we got to get in that bag. And
Yeah.
cool for a million people to jump in on the conversation to target something that is white targeting and white owned. But when do we get into ownership? When do
Mm-hmm.
we get to the point where we're saying, okay, cool, Image Awards is on. All of the people that were talking about the Oscars, let's make sure we give something positive the same energy.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy to be negative. And so
Absolutely.
I hope that social media doesn't just help galvanize a voice but puts things into action. And I think like when you have platforms like Clubhouse, I think that that's happening a lot more. People are talking and convening in spaces where it's more about building.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have hope.
I was literally thinking about Clubhouse when you were talking about ownership, because there are so many rooms on Clubhouse that are in that conversation, a part of that conversation of, this is a dope platform. We made it popping
Mhm.
because everybody's like, no one was talking about it before Black people got on Clubhouse. It just,
We don't
it
know
just
how
wasn't.
long Clubhouse was a thing before like
Exactly.
it popped off. Yeah.
Exactly.
When I found out that Derek Johnson was the president of NAACP, he was on it since like last June. And I was like, what?
Last June?
Yeah.
Oh wow. I thought it was something that just popped off in the last 6 months.
No, like he's been on it since June. And so like, once we get something, we it's so funny. Black people can't help but make things better.
Mm-hmm.
Like we can't help it. You know what I mean? Whatever we do it big. So if we're gonna make something worse, it's gonna be way worse. We're
Yeah.
gonna make something better, it's gonna be way better. Like it's just in us. It's innate, but it's like we've got to put that same energy into building our own and supporting our own.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully we get in that bag.
I think, one of the things that come to mind is, the reason that we have this Black and Forth show is because of the Wave USA in a partnership with Digital Dash PR. And one of the things that one of the co-founders of the Wave is doing with Jason and Sabrina and the team, the whole team, it's a team of amazing people coming together to create our own platform,
Mhm.
so that we have this community and we have this resource to find whatever it is that we need that support Black and brown people just across the nation and globally. So, to be a global citizen and to be able to partake in owning something that is going to benefit and be amazing for people, I think it's needed. And you're right, we are having the right conversations. We just got to get that money. We need that backing, and so we have to continue to be vocal. One of the things that I found interesting is that, with Clubhouse, they gave it a $1 billion review rating. I don't know if I'm using the correct language, but that was big. That was huge. And we are just trying to make sure that we getting a piece of that pie, and we are a part of those type of conversations. And people love our culture, but are you putting money into the culture? Are you investing into the culture? It's like, but what happens, I think what I see, like, Gene, you blow up and you're doing your social media thing, and there's like a company that wants to hire you and take you out of what you're doing now that has gotten you to the level of even being on their radar. But they want you to come over here. And it's like, it's almost like, to a certain extent, like, we have seen some Black activists that were out there on the forefront, and they were, definitely leading the charge. And then this company comes along, was like, hey, I really like what you're doing, and we're going to pay you X amount of dollars. It's more money than they've been offered before. And I'm not knocking anyone, but it's like their voice just goes away. And it's like, is that a part of the plan? Like,
Mhm.
is this, is this a part of the systematic racism that keeps us from continuing to progress and move forward? And so when we have our voices and we use them on Clubhouse and we use them on social media and Black Twitter and all of these things, it's a beautiful collective. But then there are people that rise out of the collective voice, and they have a singular voice that people follow, but then also that eventually kind of goes away. So how do you think Black people in the tech space can continue to rise without being bought out before we even reach our highest potential? Because I mean, I'm not mad at it. I get it. Like, we get into these spaces to make money, but also to be heard, to have a voice, and to really talk about the things that we care about, because we need that representation.
Um, I think it's about believing in what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that oftentimes when you see somebody sell too early, or you see somebody that gives up their intellectual properties too early, they didn't have the faith
Mm-hmm.
that somebody else had in their creation. So to your point, the word is evaluation. They got $1 billion evaluation.
Evaluation. That's the
Right?
word.
And so that means somebody looked at this company and said, this company has the potential to be worth said amount, right? And people who are acquirers are very good at valuing other things. And oftentimes creators are not good at evaluating what's theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And so they sell and they you know what I mean they give their baby away before the baby was able to
Mm-hmm.
really grow and give back. And so I think that it's really just about believing in that thing and saying ownership of this is more important on the back end than getting money on the front end.
Mm-hmm.
The legacy that I will have and develop with this thing is more important than what you can offer me right now. And if you are offering me this right now, you plan on making it bigger too. So once you give me that evaluation, I can sit back and be like, okay, they were going to give me 1 billion, but they're about making profit.
Mm-hmm.
So they clearly see that the value of my thing is worth more than what they're giving me.
Mm-hmm.
And once you kind of start thinking like that, it's like, okay, let me get it to 2 billion. Let me get it to, you know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
to your point about Clubhouse, like I remember when the face on the app, people was like,
Yeah.
change that quick.
Yeah.
They put a brother on there real quick. You know what I
They
mean?
did. They
And
did.
he's actually like on Clubhouse. The guy who is they changed it like a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
The guy who they switched it to, Bomani, is on Clubhouse and has like 1 million followers. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's really just about um, honoring the work, honoring your creation, and seeing it through.
Yeah, I love that. I think that speaks also to just Black businesses elevating their profiles. One of the, I think, genius works of social media and hype, Slutty Vegan.
Oh my God, crazy
Literally.
with it,
Oh,
crazy with it.
ah, like every time every time I see a video that they've done, they are right on the money, from the June bug challenge to showing the lines. Like, and
Hmm.
it's funny because they literally are on a tour and they stopped in my hometown of Chattanooga, Tennessee. People waited in line 6 hours.
Hmm.
6 hours. It was wrapped around like 5 blocks.
Like
And
people wait in line at their regular store every day. It'd be like, yo,
yeah,
you getting in this line every is crazy. They
it is.
actually the owners actually sent Derek a DM one time, and so we were supposed to connect, but we were in and out of Atlanta real fast. And so when we pulled up on the store, of course, the line is absolutely crazy, and we couldn't get in contact with the woman right
Ah,
there. So it's like, all right, we're going somewhere else. But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, they kill it on social. Um, and if I'm not mistaken, they started as a food truck.
Yes, that is accurate.
Yeah, and so I mean, they're just in touch, and they're in Atlanta, which is, oh my God, like Atlanta's just bursting. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
With creativity, and it's really like a Black Renaissance happening out there. So
Mm-hmm. It
yeah,
it really is. Um, Now, when you wake up, what are the three platforms that you check and why?
Instagram, of course, Twitter, and Facebook. Twitter and Facebook is more so for work, like
Mm-hmm.
all right, what's going on in the world? Nobody said anything crazy. All right, you know what I mean, and that's for work. Instagram is more so like, let me see what people are doing. Like, okay, what's happening here? How people are feeling. I'm like an observer. I've always been like an observer by nature. So
Mm-hmm.
like I learn people by watching them.
Mm.
Like even like romantically, like people like have these elaborate conversations. What's your favorite this? What's like to get to know somebody?
Yeah.
And I'm not like that. Like I don't need to ask you anything. You know what I mean? Like I will sit and I will watch because the person that you are when you think nobody's paying attention is who you are. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and so Instagram is the same way for me. Like people on Instagram are either being who they are or being who you want or who they want you to think they are. And even that is revealing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's who you aspire to be. You're giving me the person who you aspire to be, or your insecurities and all that. So Instagram for me is like one of those things where I just get on and I observe and I'm like, okay, all right, this person's going through something. This
Mm-hmm.
person's tripping. This person loves playing. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's just one of those things. So
What do you think is the biggest misconception just about social media in general?
I think the biggest misconception about social media is people saying that they don't need it.
Mm.
But there are so many people that are like, I don't need social media, and I think that's bullshit. I think that typically people are scared of
Yeah.
media and giving people access
Mm.
um, to them. But I think that there's nothing that you do in life that can't be enhanced by a social media platform. It just depends on how.
Really?
Yeah, like think about the one thing in life that wouldn't be better with social media. Like there's nothing. Like a trash man would be better with the social media. Like we can make your day so much more fun on social media. You're picking up trash every day. You know what I mean? Like it
I
just
never
isn't.
thought about it like that.
I don't think there's any job in the world that we couldn't make appealing on social media.
Gene, one time you asked me this question, and I want to ask you this question.
I'm so nervous right now.
This question has always stuck with me because anytime somebody asks me, I think back to that moment and I was just like so flustered for whatever reason. And you were like, yeah, you need to do some thinking. And and
I
that's
gotta
crazy
work on
because
my delivery. I'm terrible.
that was before like I really got to know you and your personality. So you know how you leave and you're like, I don't know if that went well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
I can be brass most times. I was about to say sometimes, but most times.
so I'm going to ask you, if money wasn't an issue, if there was nothing holding you back, nothing to prohibit, no inhibitions, what would your dream job or position be?
Oh man, money's not an issue. Um, I would be. Hmm, so that I don't think that there's a specific job title for whatever it is that I would be doing, but discovering talent and helping people build that out. Specifically music.
Okay.
Like I would be like an A&R. Like, yo, just let me find new talent and
Really?
keep traveling the world searching for new talent. Yeah, I spend so much time on YouTube just trying to like I have a select group of songs, right? That I think that only the singer of singers
Hmm.
could murder. Like these songs are difficult to sing.
Okay.
And so not every day, but every couple of days I'll go to YouTube, type in one of those songs and type in cover and find somebody that's doing a cover of this record. My favorite record of all time is Change Gonna Come. So that's the record that I usually choose or sitting on the dock of the bay.
Oh, those are
Um,
such good songs.
and they're hard.
They are.
They're hard records to, you know what I mean? Like they're hard
Yeah.
records to sing. And so um that's what I would do. And even now, like I get so much joy seeing someone that I found on YouTube years ago and they're successful. So like
Yeah.
Tori Kelly. I found
Yeah.
Tori Kelly years ago just doing covers
She's
with her
amazing.
guitar. Chloe
Hmm.
and Hallie. You know what I mean? Like there's so many people and they're super dope now. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And it's like, oh man, if I was an A&R, my instinct would have been right. And so I get so much joy out of that. So yeah, man, money's not an issue. Just give me an iPhone, a cameraman, and a plane ticket, and
Okay.
let me just travel the world and find talent.
I love it. So my last question is on IG. You go by Groovy Gene.
Hmm.
Um, what do you think makes you so groovy?
Okay. Oh wow, you got me flustered. I mean, I live to a beat, man. Like again, I told you, like my life, the way that I view my life, even talking to you right now, like it's content, and
Yeah.
I can see like how things should be playing out. And so that's the razzle dazzle answer is yo, I live my life to a beat. That's why it's groovy. But that is actually not where I got the name from.
Razzle dazzle.
The real story behind the name is there's a guy who works with and around Puff and was around Biggie, and his name is Groovy Lou. And so Groovy Lou is one of them cats who he's always around. and you never know what he does. You know what I mean? You know that whatever he does, because of who he's with, you know
Yeah.
he gets it done, right?
Yeah.
But you have no idea what he does. And so for years working with Angela, again, because I'm introduced as this is my little brother Gene, nobody actually knew what I did for years. And they were like, it's funny, people say that Gene is the Angela whisperer. So people would
Uh-oh.
talk to me to talk to her. Even people who were her friends before I met her would circumvent through me. And so for years it was like, man, people don't know what I do, but they know. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like Groovy Lou. Like that's how I saw. I'm like Groovy Lou, and so I changed it to Groovy Gene as a homage to dope people who don't have titles.
I love it. I love it. Um, you did something that I thought was really interesting, and you've told this story before. And for our audience, I would love for you to tell it again. You created a playlist for Charlemagne's book, if I'm
Mhm.
saying that correct.
Yeah,
Talk to us about creating that, and then Charlemagne actually picking it up and doing this playlist. You know, you're sitting at home, you read the book, you love it. And why did you pick specific songs? Like what really inspired outside of the book? Like what inspired you to just put out this content and then it goes viral?
yeah. So if you know it, Angela, Charlemagne and Angela have a very tight relationship,
Yes.
and so Charlemagne like became big brother to me as well. And we got the book early because he and Angela were setting up to like do tour dates.
Mm-hmm.
Did a few dates where she'd interview him about the book, and so we got the book early. And Charlemagne, like myself, has songs for moments of his life. And so I'm reading the book, and he mentions these certain songs, and so maybe like 5 songs that I got from there. Like I'm like, okay, this is this. And then just being a fan of this show for years, I know, his favorite rapper is Ghostface. Da, da,
Yeah.
da, da. And so what I did was I took the few songs that he mentioned in the book, um, like a bunch of songs that I thought really fit the moment of the book. And so if you go down the playlist, it's like it's set up in a way that you feel the emotions of the book. It's layered, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I just really like compile these songs together because they were either in the book, they fit him to me, or they fit what the book was trying to convey. And so I put it together. Um, and really, I didn't expect any credit or anything. It was just, all right, you the homie. Like you always look out for Angela, which in turn is looking out for me. You know what I mean? And at that point, I had got like multiple shout outs on the Breakfast Club. So I'm like, oh yo, he's cool. You know what I'm saying? And so I told him, I was like, yo, I really think that you should do a playlist for your book. And I was really just giving him the idea. He was like, all right, let's do it. And I was like, okay. I didn't realize that this was going to fall back on me. Um, and so anyway, I put together this deck, this whole elaborate deck, which he probably didn't even read, but I put together this whole elaborate deck on why, how like literally I did research, found different books that come with music too. Like I did a whole bunch of work for nothing. But I put this thing together and he doesn't even respond to what I sent him. So maybe like a week or two later, I get an app from Elliot Wilson. And Elliot Wilson, for people who don't know, runs Rap Radar. He's been like
Yeah.
Jay-Z's personal interviewer for years and years and years.
Yeah.
This huge guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, I'm like, oh shit, am I still logged in on Angela's? That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, am I logged in to Angela's Instagram and Twitter? And I'm like, no, it says Groovy Gene. So I clicked it open, and it says Charlemagne the God and Groovy Gene present Black Privilege, the playlist. And so that was actually another one of those moments where I was like,
I'm nice with this shit.
oh my god, right? Like, oh my god, this is crazy. And so yeah, man, it was dope, and it was a moment for me To one again acknowledge the fact that I belong in this space, but then also like, yo, he gave me the credit for it, which I thought was super dope because he didn't have to. He could have just called it Black Privilege the playlist, and nobody would have ever known or anything like that. But he like created this moment. Angela pulled some strings for that too. She was very pushy. But yeah, man, it was an incredible moment for me. And then having that playlist, going to these different tour dates with him, and it was a really dope moment. It felt like I was on tour, which is something
Or
I really want to do, right?
yeah.
So yeah, it was a really, really, really dope moment.
So I wanted to have that bonus information for the audience that's listening to this interview, that's digesting this information that you shared. Not only did you create this moment, you did the research,
Mm,
you leaned on those relationships, and you put action to this thought that actually became a living, breathing, existing piece of content that we all could enjoy. And you got the credit for it. And so, what I love is that not only did we get to see the beginning of this, but we got to see you walk us through what that process was for you. And so, I know the Groovy Gene question was like supposed to be my last question, but I was like, I really wanted to bring that out
yeah.
to the audience because, again, I think one of the reasons we have this platform is to really highlight and just showcase the brilliance of our Blackness.
Mm,
And you are absolutely intertwined into what makes the culture pop and how we have the ability to see these stories come to life because you are a gatekeeper of the narrative. And so I appreciate you for taking the time to be on Black and Forth, being brought to you by the Wave USA Digital PR. I go by the name of Nori Nori. I am your host. Gene, one more time, how can people stay in contact with you? We appreciate you.
yeah, man. Of course, social media. Follow me on social media. At Groovy Gene, Instagram, Twitter is Groovy_Gene. But we about to make some calls. Get that fixed.
Because you know
So
people.
some random guys got Groovy Gene and he don't post nothing. I'm like, yo, let me just get that back. But yeah, and I'm definitely stealing a gatekeeper of the narrative. I'm putting that in my bio somewhere. But yeah, follow Groovy Gene, man.
All right, definitely. Thank you. Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Peace, peace.